Welcome to the world of ShadowWest, a dark fantasy western powered by the fast and flexible Shadow Dark system. It's a new vision of our own Wild West. The sun can be cast into darkness for days. An alien mystical ore crashes to the earth during the hours of the bleak. Factions rise trying to control its power. Myths come to life. Strange creatures roam the landscape and dwell in deep, dark mines. But in forgotten gulches and in the ruins of ancient civilizations, great power can be found. You can play as a gunslinger, a scout, a holy roller, a rough cut, range rider, or a mystic. All of these classes, many backgrounds, and unique legacy abilities have been created just for ShadowWest. You'll also find new rules for riding, trains, firearms, and a skill system. You'll also meet a whole host of dangerous and terrifying critters that now walk the deserts and prairies. Get out of the saloon and take a look around. See what is waiting for you in the dark of the ShadowWest.
And we are live. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight for our ShadowWest live stream. We've got a really amazing one tonight. If you're new to the Fox and Boar Games Shadow Dark project, welcome to the stream. ShadowWest is a dark Western fantasy powered by the Shadow Dark system. And late pledges are still open, so be sure to back it on Kickstarter while you can and stake your claim on the Western frontier. We have a lot to share with you tonight, and I'm especially excited to introduce Brett McCoy, who is the creative mind helping shape the musical atmosphere of this game. And before I bring Brett on, I actually want to mention that we are almost to our 5th and final stretch goal, which is incredible, and that's all thanks to your support. So if we do hit that $20,000 mark, we will have another full campaign setting added. And honestly, we're just thrilled to have hit even the $15,000 mark so that we can make this soundtrack happen, because that is going to be an epic addition to this gaming experience. So please feel free to share the project. We've got the link in the comments for you, and we would love to reach that $20,000 stretch goal so we can bring you another full campaign setting. All right. So Brett McCoy is the composer behind the ShadowWest soundtrack. He is a guitarist and a composer with a background in everything from progressive rock and metal to ambient soundscapes, and his work blends gritty textures with cinematic storytelling, which fits ShadowWest perfectly. So I'm going to bring Brett on now. There we go. And hopefully we can hear you.
Hey, everyone.
There we go. Hey, Brett. How's it going?
Awesome.
Good. Thanks for being here. And I met Brett years ago at a festival called FairyCon. John keeps reminding me. It was a very busy festival. We had a lot going on, but that festival is no longer in existence, sadly. But Brett's work is, so I'm really happy that you're going to be a part of this project. And for those watching tonight who are maybe less familiar with your musical collaborations with John, can you just give everyone here an idea of how you became involved in ShadowWest?
Yeah. I'll go back a few years. I've known John since maybe 2010. We discovered we had mutual interests in medieval music of all things, as well as stuff like H.P. Lovecraft, gaming, heavy metal, and stuff like that. And we'd been wanting to collaborate on music for a while. And we finally got to, in 2017, we started a folk metal band called Tishale. And that lasted until the pandemic kind of killed that project off. And we had another project we did for a couple of years that was straight medieval music. And that's kind of gone on hiatus. And then this came up a couple months ago. And he's like, hey, I'm doing this RPG and we want to release a soundtrack with it. Would you be interested? And I did not hesitate to say yes. And you're like, absolutely. Because I've loved working with John all through the years. And all the projects we've worked on. So, and this is definitely going to be new territory for us. So,
yeah, definitely. I can imagine that.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's a bit of a leap from maybe the medieval world to, the Western frontier.
Yeah. But our medieval band, our heavy metal band that we did in 2017, it was kind of inspired by RPGs in general and Conan and stuff like that. So we're kind of taking this into the Wild West now with a similar kind of mindset, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's a perfect segue into my next question, actually. So this game is obviously blending kind of that dark fantasy with the gritty Western vibes. So how are you approaching the sound of this unique world?
Well, as you've probably seen if you visited any of my websites or whatever, I have a background in heavy metal and lots of different music styles, but I also have a big background in symphonic film music. And that's what really drew me to this, because I really like spaghetti westerns, music from that, those kind of movies, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and Once Upon a Time in Out West and stuff like that. And that's what really drew me into this. So it's a perfect opportunity to blend my interests in fantasy music and dark magic and things like that, as well as the film score styles. It's a perfect blend of that, and that's how I'm coming at this.
Okay. Yeah, and so like speaking of some of that imagery that you just pointed out, is there sort of a musical image or texture that comes to mind for you when you think of this particular world we're working with?
Yeah, I mean the spaghetti western, obviously, but I also like, John had brought up John Carpenter's Vampires, a soundtrack that he really liked, and I agree, it's a fantastic soundtrack. It's not. The film itself is kind of low budget, and I guess it was made to be kind of like a Western, but with vampires. And the soundtrack is kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of a heavy bluesy electric guitars and stuff like that. So I'm kind of blending that with the more traditional spaghetti Western sound, and definitely the symphonic film score sound. But it's going to have a dark edge to it. Maybe something more along the Danny Elfman, Edward Scissorhands, Nightmare Before Christmas kind of thing too, which is a sound I really like. So it's going to be kind of an amalgamation of that kind of sound. A good example of this, and you can listen to this on my SoundCloud page. I was given a challenge once to do a fusion of two different styles of music. And so I took samba music or bossa nova. I took like a blend of the beat and kind of the atmosphere of a bossa nova music with goth music, and came up with I got a guy to sing it, and it came out to this really kind of funky Bauhaus type song. And then I found out later, this is the kind of stuff Fields of the Nephilim did all the time too. They have an album they did. Their very first album was a blend of goth and spaghetti Western music. So they're kind of heading in that kind of direction too.
Yeah, I'm starting to get kind of an image here in my head. So, I mean, yeah, speaking of, some of those dusty soundscapes, how do you keep some of those flavors of sort of the darker elements, but while leaning into the Western flavor of this game?
Well, a lot of it's going to be the instrumentation. Baritone guitars are something that were very prominent in spaghetti Western music, which is in between like a regular 6-string guitar and a bass guitar. It's sort of in between. And you hear them all the time in spaghetti Westerns. And I'm going to be using that a lot, both as like an acoustic sound as well as electric guitar sound, which, like I said, is used in spaghetti Western music a lot. Even the electric sounds you can hear in Morricone's scores. He uses a lot of electric guitar, and he's using a baritone guitar too, so it has kind of a deeper, darker sound than a typical electric guitar does.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I've heard legendary tales of your gear collection. I can imagine some of that's going to come
Yeah,
into
I have a lot of
here.
guitars. I mean, I'm going to be using regular guitars too. So
Yeah,
six
absolutely.
string. I'll be playing all the instruments myself. Although I may be, if I can find like a fiddle player or somebody to do some ambient vocals, I'll probably get some live performers to do that as well.
Okay. So yeah, and that kind of leads into your creative process a bit. So when you're composing something like this, where do you start in this kind of process?
Well, John and I had talked about this a couple weeks ago, I guess, when we started, throwing around ideas. We want to have like basic themes that are going to run through the whole thing. Like, I guess we have like the bleak and, some themes for the different character classes and things like that. And that's a pretty typical thing in a lot of film music, especially if you're familiar with John Williams and stuff like that. And he attaches themes to specific characters and the Force and stuff like that. So we're going to kind of take that approach. And it'll kind of, give a cohesive feel to the whole piece. So it's not just a string of a bunch of different tracks, but there's going to be an underlying story with it, with the different themes, tying it all together.
Awesome. Yeah. And I can imagine, Lizanne's artwork is going to help serve as somewhat of a visual guide for that. That's going to be amazing. So as for, your vision in terms of like what you hope people will experience when they're playing the game and hearing this music, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a deep question. Yeah, I hope it's inspirational for them. Something playing on loop like that. I mean, when I used to play D&D when I was, a kid in high school and stuff, we always had music playing in the background, whether it was, Black Sabbath or Star Wars music or whatever, just to kind of have an underlying inspiration for what we were doing. And I hope like I said, I hope that provides a similar kind of ambience to the gaming process.
Absolutely. I have no doubt that with your talent, it's going to create an amazing experience for Fox and More gamers. And I'm going to post some links in the chat right now. So if you want to stay connected with Brett's work, you can follow on Facebook and check out the SoundCloud where you can hear some music samples. So we're going to keep everybody posted as this continues developing and hopefully have some previews for you a little bit later in the year, but stay tuned. Brett, it's a pleasure to talk with you about this, and thank you so much for jumping on this project. I'm really happy this worked out.
Absolutely.
And thank you everyone for your support. Very cool. Okay, so next up, I am going to go ahead and bring John up to give us a quick rundown of the campaign, where it stands now. Our late pledges are still open on Kickstarter, and then it looks like Crooked Tail Crafts just joined, so we're going to be speaking with them as well about some of the rewards. Thanks again, Brett.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Just wanted to stop in and say hello. Thanks, Brett. Thanks for coming on. Brett and I, as you heard, have been collaborating and working on stuff for quite a while, and we're really psyched to get this going. We're both kind of, in the same mind musically and creatively, and we're really thrilled to be doing this. We do have some updates since our last live stream. Late pledges have kept coming in. I can't say thank you enough. I'm blown away every time I, happen to look and see that people are still interested and they're still like promoting this project. And I've seen people posting about it on the regular Shadow Dark Facebook group and the Shadow Dark Discord. And I'm always just blown away. I'm just going to share that really quickly right now. Tonight's going to really be about our guests. So I'm not going to take up a lot of time tonight. We'll be back in a week or two with some more art reveals. Maybe we'll see if Lisanne wants to come back. because she has sent me a bunch of new art, which I mean, I've barely gotten to really digest, but I'm really thrilled to share some of it with you. And of course, backers will be getting first looks. So here's where we're at with ShadowWest. We're at $18,718. And as Maeve said earlier, and as you can find on the campaign, at 20,000, I will write up and release a whole new. There's some, not to spoil, not as a spoiler, but there's some of our Crooked Tail Craft stuff. We have the full campaign setting to be added. Now there is going to be a loose campaign included in the basic game, not a full campaign, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the setting. I'm going to have an adventure, talk about how to expand that adventure, but this would be writing up a full campaign setting. Several people have asked me where I would be setting it. My inclination is New Mexico, largely because I have quite a bit of historical research on New Mexico in the Old West in the late 1800s, early 1900s, already done for my Call of Cthulhu game, which has been an ongoing campaign, both with a private group and at conventions for a number of years now, so I could platform off that. Then beyond that, I was thinking either Utah or Colorado territory would probably be one of my next thoughts. But we can get to that. If we get to that, we'll get to that. People have asked, are you going to release a campaign setting eventually? Yes, absolutely. That is my intention, to keep writing for this, to keep writing more supplemental material, to keep writing more on an extended campaign. I would just be doing it sooner than I normally would be doing it. So that's about where we are with the campaign. Where I'm at currently, I'm still working on the Shades of Hellhound Trail, the first scenario. Several people have asked about playing it. I'll be debuting it. It's on the schedule finally at Dex Light in Morristown, New Jersey on 4th of July weekend. I'll be running one session of it, and there will be more sessions of it. There's one session already scheduled for Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo in January, and I'll probably end up running another session or two of it there because I've already had people say, if I can't get into that one, are you going to run more? So the answer is, if people want to do it, considering I think I'll have a full group of people. And by the way, I did want to mention Brett is considering coming up to the convention. So if you want to talk to him about his soundtrack work in person, then that would be a great time to do it. Lisanne will be there. Ariel, who's here tonight, and who will probably end up doing some proofreading for the project, like she has done for other Fox and Board Games projects. Utah would be nice. Yeah, Utah would be kind of cool. So she proofread 100 Ways source book. She proofread Trash Exy. And if I'm missing anything else, let me know, Ari. But I know you proofread those two. And she'll probably be coming on to do the proofreading for ShadowWest too, at least the initial scan through. We've already had some discussions about how to approach that. So, and I should be meeting with Sage, the graphic designer, at some point soon. So that's where we are. We're cruising. If Maeve is ready, we can bring on. Yeah, I got them. Okay,
I'm ready.
We can bring on Crooked Tails. All right, you already got me on my screen. Perfect.
Thank you, John. Okay. So next up, I'm really excited to introduce Kate and Ian, the creators behind the handcrafted backer rewards for the ShadowWest Kickstarter. Crooked Tail Crafts is known for their imaginative, story-driven designs, from dice and jewelry to all kinds of custom treasures. And for ShadowWest, they're making some incredible items like our custom dice sets, coasters, shot glasses, luck tokens, even the faux leather slipcase for the deluxe edition. Every piece they make brings a little bit of magic with it, and we're lucky to have them on board. So please welcome Crooked Tail Crafts to the stream. Hey guys.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, welcome. Thank you so much for popping on and making this work today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, I was just so excited to introduce you to everybody. We've had so much wonderful support around this campaign, and I think it's really important to connect, the artists and all of the creators behind these projects to the actual audience that is going to be enjoying some of these amazing creations that you're working on. So with that, I just want to kick us off with this question. Crooked Tail Crafts, if you are familiar with the website and some of the work that you do, I'm sure the audience will see that you have such a vibrant personality, and you bring that personality into everything that you create. So how do you keep that spirit alive across so many different types of creations?
we're really big nerds, and
Yeah.
we basically make and design things that we would love to play with and would love to have at the core. If we don't like it, we wouldn't make it. So all of our, especially like dice and things, are things that we would want to play with, things that our friends want to play with, and they're things that overall make us happy and bring us joy. So if they bring us and our little crew and our friends joy, we know that they're going to bring others. So we just try to bring that fun and little sparkle out there.
And we have fun with it ourselves, just making designs that we literally, like, when we're making stuff together, we're having a good time. We're having a good time going and sell stuff too. We just it's what we do.
That's what you do. Yep. Well, you're in good company. I think we're all nerds here, so that works out pretty well. So, your brand is obviously about whimsical crafts and storytelling. And how do you channel that into something like the tokens or the coasters that you're making for such a gritty, dark Western fantasy game?
Definitely was a very fun endeavor, especially for me, getting to really pick apart the story and like John's brain, the vision behind it. My notebook just kept growing and growing with ideas and sketches of all the different ideas behind it. And a lot of our stuff is more light and fluffy, and not light and fluffy, but like more whimsical. But getting to really channel that dark side, I really just let it take and envision. I like to listen to music when I create, so going down and really just diving down those rabbit holes and playing with different colors, different textures, and getting to do things that I haven't normally gotten to do was just really fun, and fun little challenges, and getting more information from John and getting to see the art and getting to do all the different fun little things that I don't normally get to do.
Well, yeah, because we will have the occasional thing that might have darker colors, but we tend to make stuff on the brighter color palette. But she loves a creative challenge. So being able to take the darker themed dice and expand on that, specifically focused on a ShadowWest style, is a lot of fun.
And getting to tell stories in what we do. Like, the luck tokens have a story to them, with good side, the bad side. Even the coasters have a little story within them, being the cylinder of a gun, and then having dice that compare with it being bullet dice. Everything has a little story that connects. It's just fun to be able to be a storyteller through all these little rewards.
Wow, I love how much of the game narrative is coming to life in these incredible creations you're making like that.
You should see the gift bag she gives during Dungeons and Dragons campaigns.
Oh, I can imagine, yeah. That's awesome. Wow. And it is a little bit of a leap, I'm sure, from kind of the fantasy world into something like this, but hopefully a creative challenge. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the rewards. You're making some incredible handcrafted items. We've got the dice, the stickers, the coasters. I mentioned the shot glasses, luck tokens. And then of course our special edition faux leather slipcase. And I'm just curious, starting with the dice, right? So the top tier reward dice are a special treat. And you mentioned that the narrative plays a big role in kind of the storytelling and how you're bringing out these products. So what's your creative process like when you're designing something like the dice, for instance?
So many iterations of, do I play with the colors? Do I play with sparkle versus shine? Do I play with layers of texture? And then that's just with like a resin base. And then if I'm playing with the metal, what are the designs that I can add to it? Thankfully, I don't do math. I have a wonderful friend that does my math for me, and I can go, is this even possible? And he has yet to let me down with my math, so it's wonderful. He'll figure out the most impossible situations when I go, hey, I want this.
Incredibly intelligent engineer, helps us do the math with all our metal dice.
So I just sit there and I let my imagination run as wild as possible and sketch, and then start mixing, coloring, playing with it. And then John has to deal with the fact that I have really high standards and will not send things that I don't like. So they go through a bunch of tests and a bunch of phases. And if it does not reach mine and Aesop, our cat's little standards, they don't make it to anyone else's eyes.
I'm sure the first prototype you actually sent him was at least the 10th iteration of whatever you were making in any given case.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, that's amazing. So just for everyone who's watching, I would like everyone to know we have a phenomenal amount of cats involved in this project.
I'm almost surprised one hasn't found his way to our laps yet.
Yeah.
He usually knows when there's a computer camera on.
Yep. Yeah, I can picture that. Between your cats and quality control, it sounds like. I mean, we've got Laszlo and Nandor, which is John's cats, involved in this as well.
Aesop sits in her lap while she works all day.
Yep.
All of them have been approved by him.
Yep. The pot of approval. I love it. Awesome. And actually, while we're on the subject of dice, we have the bullet dice as well, right? So, just to kind of give everyone an idea here, the dice are playing a huge role in this game, not just obviously as a tool that you're using to play the actual game, but also there's a design component there. And I wanted to read a little snippet from the game because I think this is a great illustration of what is making these particular dice extra magical. A supernatural darkness allows ancient and strange creatures to roam the landscape. During this darkness, called the bleak, magic meteoric ore falls from the sky. It's harvested by both outliers and the big companies who use it to enhance magic and create strange devices. And if you saw some of the pictures going by in this montage here, you probably saw some of that dice. So that I think what John has mentioned before is that dice, in the way that you've created it, it actually looks a lot like the meteoric ore in the story. So I was wondering if you'd like to unveil the bullet dice now that we've covered that one.
Yes.
We have a picture of it. Let's see if
I have a picture.
Oh,
John wants to.
Maybe
I think he's pulling it up. We're gonna do the official reveal of the bullet dice. But in the meantime, while we're waiting on the photo, what is kind of the primary difference in the design process, would you say, for something like the dice that you already designed to like the bullet dice?
A lot of different mathematical equations go into the weighting of these, because these are quite literally shaped like bullets. And they had to go through some different tests to not only make sure that they would roll evenly, but make sure that they could still look like a bullet. And normally bullets are very, very round. First couple iterations, I was like, these are too dice-like. I want them more round. So went back and forth a few times, trying to make them more round, make them more bullet, make them more round, make them more bullet. And I'm really happy with where we landed on them.
Oh my goodness. I can't wait to see this. So let's see here. I think John is pulling up the picture. And we'll come back to that in a second here. But in terms of the faux leather slip case, which is another photo I think we saw go by earlier, it feels like such a luxury item. So what inspired that design and, the details that kind of went into making that feel unique for ShadowWest?
Well, they are. They're the bullet dice. But
Though the slip cover, when John said the leather slip cover, the idea of the monsters in the dark came immediately to my head with getting the creatures and just the hides of creatures, different hides, and whether or not they were perfectly put together in these covers or if they were pieces of different creatures that were put together with the binding being put as the cover of it with the logo like imprinted almost like a branding just
Wow.
immediately was so vividly in my head that I was so excited about this. I was like, yes, I want this project. Even if I have nothing else to do with it, I want this one.
I think you had that idea before we even like left the event, John,
Yes.
that we met John at.
And that was a convention, right?
Yeah, Total Con.
Okay, Total Con. Okay. Oh my goodness, wow. Okay, so we have that image up. Here we go. Behold the bullet dice, everybody. This is incredible.
Such a fun project.
Yeah. I'm super excited about this, I have to say. Yeah, for all the dice nerds and collectors out there, this is a must-have. So definitely, if you haven't backed the campaign yet, sorry, I've got a phone going off there. Definitely check out the link in the comments. And we're going to post some links as well where you can stay in touch with Crooked Tail Crafts, keep up with their work. And a last question for you. If you could design a dream reward or magical item for the ShadowWest world that hasn't been part of this project yet, no budget, no limits, what would it be?
Do you have something? Because there is the most chaos.
My first thought is actually expanding on the cylinder coaster. Like just similar theme. Again, I come up with ideas and then we see if they're actually viable. A dice cup that is a revolver cylinder.
See, mine was an ammo pack, like one of those old
bandolier.
Western ammo packs. Yeah.
Yep. We both went to ammunition holders.
Yeah.
As our social media guru in the corner is making gun references, and I'm like, yeah, different chamber ideas, be able to load a different chamber, like effects in a gun. Like my mind's just rolling now, and I'm like, there could be so many because I'm a very tactile player.
Sure.
I like to have things in my hand. I'm like, ooh, all these different things are now rolling through my head. So they could be stickers. You never know what's going to come on those little sticker packs.
I'm sure there's 1,000 directions we could go with that for sure. That's awesome. And it's funny because like I live in Colorado, so I'm in, cowboy country, and I'm seeing the inspiration for this stuff all the time. But how fun is it to have a game that is, of course, powered by Shadow Dark, bringing the best of both worlds together. So thank you so much for being part of this project and bringing your beautiful creative energy into this. We're so excited to share that with everyone. And if you're just tuning in, you can keep in touch with Crooked Tail Crafts on social media. We're going to be posting their links shortly. Kate and Ian, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and have us go to a quick break. You can post your comments and questions for Brett, Kate, and Ian in the chat at any time. We would love to answer those for you during our Q&A. And we'll be right back.
Howdy, partners. John Hartford of Fox and Board Games coming at you out of the dark. Introducing our upcoming game, ShadowWest, a Weird West dark fantasy powered by the fast and easy Shadow Dark system. A twist on our old Wild West, where mystical meteoric ore falls and can be called from the sky. The sun goes down and might not come up for another week. And the cities of ancient ones are just beneath your feet. Adventures are set in harrowing mines, prehistoric vistas, in the ruins of forgotten civilizations. You want more? Stretch goals will include special Kickstarter dice, a full campaign, a horror western soundtrack, and miniatures. To get previews, including a sneak peek of the Gunslinger class right now, go over to foxandboardgames.com and sign up for the mailing list. There's a lot of gold in this Kickstarter. Don't miss out staking your claim. And as always, keep that lantern burning.
Okay, the gang's all here.
Hey guys, how are you? Good to see you.
I said Brett stepped away. I guess she'll be back.
There we go.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So we're just going to open the floor. If anyone has any questions, we'll be here a few more minutes. We've got Crooked Tail Crafts here, Brett McCoy, the composer of ShadowWest soundtrack. So drop your questions and comments in the chat. And it looks like I'm going to catch up a little bit here because I missed a lot of things. So it looks like, oh yeah, we've got some people voting for Utah. Oh my goodness, yeah. I would be torn too if I had to choose between Colorado, Utah, and what was it, New Mexico?
Yeah.
I would be
those are the New Mexico's going to definitely probably be the first ones. I already have that in place more or less. But I'll be adding, as the world expands, where would I take it next? If anyone's watched American Primeval on Netflix, which is warning, is extremely realistic and brutal and a dark vision of our West that actually is even darker than this game in that it's all real people, but it's set in the Utah Territory and the conflict with the Mormons and all this, and the Native Americans. It's a very interesting, even if melodramatic take on it. So I think that would be a really cool setting for this. Colorado's got a lot of wild territory though, and that could be really interesting.
It does. I'm a little biased, but yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of ghosts.
Colorado's pretty mountainous too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Both. Yeah. Well, Utah goes from like the Salt Flats up to the Soaring Mountains, like in miles. It's crazy. And I have been to Utah, so I can speak for that first. I haven't been to Colorado yet.
Yeah, we have some.
Like Maeve's urgings. I haven't been to Colorado yet. Strangely enough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was another landscape that came to mind. We have Grand Junction. If anyone's been there, we've got sand dunes up there.
Cool.
So yeah, lots of ecosystems to choose from, right? Kate and Ian, have you ever been to any of those places?
I have not been further west than the Florida Panhandle.
Okay.
I went cross country, but it was so long ago. It was the summer of my 8th grade year. I remember Montana.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like we've got a question here for Brett. So what was the most challenging part of putting together the soundtrack this far?
That's a good question. I mean, it's still in progress right now. So a lot of it's just coming up with enough musical ideas so it doesn't all run together or it gets repetitive. That's always a challenge when putting together any kind of album or soundtrack.
Yeah, I could definitely see the challenge in that, and I'm sure John could speak to that as well. So
just for reference, Ari's a very competent sound designer as well. She's in my audio production class, and she does a lot of sound work for class games that are being done. So she might want to pick your brain. Brett is extremely skilled and experienced in composition, sound design, the technical and the academic aspects and the musical aspects. So he was the natural choice for this.
Yep. I had a listen on SoundCloud, and honestly, as soon as you mentioned the crossover between Danny Elfman and I think Tony, I was sold. I was like, yep. So I'm a massive Tim Burton, Danny Elfman fan. I actually got to meet him a couple years ago to Symphony.
Yeah.
So it's like,
oh, nice. That's
cool. Legendary. But yeah, should be good. It'll be nice to have the cinematic flavor as well. And, I think any kind of music or art or anything tactile, like Kate and Ian mentioned, it just really helps you get into the game. It brings the game to life in a really tangible way. Yeah. So it's going to be great having that.
So it looks like we have a easy audience tonight. Not a lot of questions.
We do. Yeah.
But so I'll ask Kate and Ian. So we talked a lot at the con, and we've talked online since. But I don't think I ever asked. Like, have you ever designed anything specifically that's a physical artifact or item for a game setting before, or a campaign specifically before?
Not for one in this. In this type of a setting. In previous, I've done like D&D stuff where I've DM'd for a lot of deaf individuals, and that's where I really found my love for tactile things.
Yeah.
That have that storytelling aspect, because we don't have the sound aspect for them. So I like that's where I really found ways to convey story through
Yeah.
tactiles. And that's why when presented this option and this challenge with you, I was so gravitated to it.
Cool.
So nothing to this scale, but on smaller scales, yes.
Yeah, cool. Well, I remember when we talked, what I really liked is when I said, yeah, I've had a bunch of people who I've asked to do some design work and prototype work and production work for these various games I'm working on, and they've all been like, yeah, it's just too much. And you were like, no, I really like a challenge. Tell me what you want. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, we can definitely work with that. We can definitely work with the sentiments, which I thought was great.
I love a challenge. It's how I grow and learn.
Exactly.
Yep. What she said.
I would have never learned how to make bullet dice if I hadn't had this opportunity.
We quite literally.
I remember you mentioned the bullet dice. I'm sorry.
Well, we literally introduced like new types of merchandise to our regular vending table through other creative challenges that people will give us. Kate actually made dice for a wedding party.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which they wanted their wedding colors, and Kate tried to figure out the best way to make that into a cool design for their dice, and she designed geode dice. Which I believe were actually the ones we showed you when you first talked about the Oryx dice. We were like, so like kind of the metal this?
Yeah. And I was like, yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense.
But we just love learning new things through the creative challenges of collaborative work and just coming up with ideas.
But and we all, I think everybody here is an artist or creative in one medium or another, and I mean that's how you learn things, by doing it, by saying, sure, yeah, okay, I guess we'll figure this out and make something, and it'll be really cool. Yeah, nice.
Kate, you mentioned that you like to listen to music when you create. What do you like to listen to?
Completely depends on what I'm trying to create. So for this was a lot of Western, dark, trying to get in the headset of it, trying to get deep into the feeling so I could get those creations to be what I wanted. So I just try to go with what I'm trying to create.
Yeah, that's so awesome. That's kind of how I approach writing too, I think, is like just pick the soundscape and you're kind of deep in that world. So awesome. Well, we'll do one last call here. For questions. Oh, there we go.
So I think we probably I talked to you guys about Page Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. I think the vendor booths are actually already sold out for that. But I could send you the info and see what the deal is with that. And you also would be welcome, in addition to any of this ShadowWest stuff. If you have anything else you wanted to send down that I could host at the table, I could definitely do that. But yeah, I'll see. I'll check. I think the vendor booths are just about gone, if not gone.
If nothing else, it's another con to add to our list to look into for next year.
Absolutely.
Because we really just started dipping into cons with Total Con this year. So we just went, all right, it's time to start doing more of these. So ones we didn't get into this year, on the list for next year.
Absolutely. I'll send you the info on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we are getting ready to kind of wrap it up here. And, definitely check out the links in the comments to both the campaign, but also Kate and Ian at Crooked Tail Crafts and Brett McCoy. If you want to keep in touch, here's some music samples, see some of their awesome creations. And we will keep everybody updated as this continues to unfold. We've got lots of updates well into the future as we continue to see all of this come together. Thank you again so much for your support. We really hope that you enjoyed this live stream tonight, and we'll see you again very soon. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.